that free agency shit, you're gonna be looking nice in a Micah Parsons jersey. Let me tell you,
Fuck you
that
now.
Micah Parsons jersey, you know.
Dude, I can't wait if you put Kayvon jersey on. Oh god, that would nice on you. Kayvon, like Giant jersey. I know how much you hate that, right?
I would. Why? You don't have Saquon jersey, right?
I do have Saquon jersey, but
Why don't you want me to wear it? Because it's not gonna be a Giant.
don't even get me started with that topic. We're talking about drafting. Welcome back, our Tiger Hawk sports fans. We got another podcast.
How's it going?
NFL draft 2 weeks away.
Dude, it is hype. Draft.
Dude,
Noah's Bo Cowan.
it's the fucking season though, bro. Not even draft. Like the draft means the season is just underway. Like yeah, free agency happened. Like that was fun.
Free agency.
But like,
when free agency is the season doesn't. Fucking draft it. It's a different day.
yeah,
It's a different animal.
but it just gets that feeling more of like the NFL season coming up. When I see draft day, I just
Draft day is just more exciting.
it is though. That's what I'm saying. You get to see the new guys come in on teams, make impact on these teams. I mean, obviously, you have your top tier guys that everyone thinks is going to be a major player, going to be make the big impact. All the first round guys are guys. Oh my God, you think they're going to be like the future Hall of Famers on your team? That you hope for. And then you get these 4th, 5th round guys that are major pieces to your team. I mean, I know one guy from my recent act that sticks out to me. You see him at that corner right there. You got a little Rutgers running back, Ray Rice. You know where I'm going. I'm going Isaiah Pacheco
Ray Rice,
here.
nice. Nice.
We're going Isaiah
Nice.
Pacheco. I was relating it to Rutgers, bro. Fucking relax.
All right,
But I was saying
back to
by-
draft day.
But I was saying about Isaiah Pacheco. 7th round guy, came from Rutgers, and is now probably the starter of the Kansas City Chiefs. Those are the guys that you always look at that you think aren't going to be the factors to your team. And
So you're saying the day 2, day 3 of the draft is where you're most excited.
I mean, yeah, you get to see the guys that aren't highly recruited.
All right, I want to hear your opinion on this. What do you think about the first round running back theory? That you shouldn't spend too high on the first round running back, like Najee Harris, like those guys, the ones that are in the back half, are the good, are okay.
I mean, I think when we were watching growing up, it was the right thing to do. Like drafting
I
Zeke,
think it's
drafting
interesting.
Saquon, I thought it was a good move, but now the whole mode of the NFL is changing, so I don't agree with it. I think you can still get a running back in the 2nd, 3rd round and may have that impact on your team. You don't need to go out and get a running back at pick 10 and hope that you can bolster your offense to be significantly
See,
better.
I think it's interesting when you look at the draft every year, because it's like the running backs are always just so, like, I don't know how to explain it. Like there's always the one running back I feel like that sets himself apart from everybody else. And that was like Saquon in the years past, and Zeke when he got drafted, and Fournette when he got drafted,
I mean, even
Najee when he got drafted. But like this year it's Bijan Robinson, but I feel like there's such a different narrative around Bijan Robinson. Like everybody knows he's going to be a generational
I mean,
talent.
I don't even
And
agree
there's-
with
it's
that.
so
because
weird
I think
because,
it's
like,
different. It's so
you see-
different, Chris. It's so different. It's different because the narrative goes around not just like running back in the draft. It goes around where the NFL is. NFL would change so many
It has
aspects of running back.
I mean, it's a more passing league, yeah.
but
But like
it's
you
a
still
committee.
need a balanced offense.
You need a committee.
Look at
though.
the teams that got to the Super Bowl. Like the Chiefs made a run in the playoffs because of what Pacheco was. And what Jerick
Even the
McKinnon was
7th round draft pick, though.
right, but it was Pacheco and McKinnon, that duo.
I guess I'm saying.
Like they still had the running game.
Yeah, I agree, but why would you go out and
Well, like you can't survive in the NFL without a running game. Look at the Bills; they haven't been able to get anywhere because every year in the playoffs, their arm only takes them so far.
I mean,
Look
I
at the Eagles.
put a Dave Lee on pick though. You're
Why do you
saying
think? Okay, look at the past couple of years in the playoffs. The teams that make on, right? Are they necessarily paying a running back all this money? No. I
No.
absolutely agree that you don't pay a running back the big money. I don't think it.
You should be the Giants GM.
I don't think it makes sense to pay a running back 18,
You're
20
fucking
million
telling me, bro.
dollars, right?
They're telling me.
Okay. They're paying 10. They're paying 10 for Saquon. That's fine. Saquon's your best offensive player. It's different if it's you have nobody else. Who else are you going to pay this year?
Doesn't matter.
You're
we're not
an
going
offensive
to
player. And at this point, at this point for the Giants, it's more about the locker room with Saquon, in my opinion.
I agree. If you
On top of all the talent that he's a talented running back.
oh, I
absolutely.
completely
And that's
agree.
why he's not going to sign a franchise tag. You're not going to be playing off a torn ACL and the ankle injury that he had.
Dude, I
When
agree.
you play on a franchise.
That's why I didn't like
But we're not talking about the Giants.
I'm aware.
I'm talking about running backs in general. I'm not for the $20 million contract. I think, especially the ones that are long term,
I agree.
4 or 5 years, it don't make sense. The Zeke one needs to happen. Much as I hate to say it, the Zeke cut needs to happen. But if you look at the playoffs in the past, the Eagles made it to the Super Bowl because of the running game that they had. Look how many times the 49ers have been to the Super Bowl or NFC Championship game in the last couple of years when Kyle Shanahan's been the coach. Because of the running scheme that they have, the balanced offense they're able to create with the quarterback.
I've emphasized this when we first started this podcast, even before you realize it. If you don't have a running game to open up your passing game, yeah, it may be good in the regular season, but you go up against the elite players going in the playoffs, you don't have a running game, you're just giving the other team more time to score and you're taking time off your clock by passing the ball 50 times a game. You know, for the Bills, obviously, then you know how that hurts them.
Yeah.
So I guess the whole gist of this conversation we're having is it worth drafting a running back in the top 15?
No.
Like, yeah, I agree. Like, you
No.
don't need to.
Because at that point, when you're gonna have to pay them more money, number one, and then if they do perform, they're like it's like okay, now I'm a top 15 draft pick. I performed in my first couple of years. Now I'm definitely getting over $10 million. And I'm not saying that running backs like there's some running backs that do deserve them, but I don't know. It's just a position that's like
So
if you don't
why
want to
don't
play
we-
for me,
why don't we talk
Le'Veon
about this?
Bell is the one that changed that name. I'm telling you right now.
oh, I understand.
Le'Veon Bell set the market for all running backs in the league.
Wants to get paid, set up. That's how the motor works.
But
But let's just talk about the RBs that we like. Obviously, I'm always like B. John. I think he had a great college career. I think he definitely is the number one running back on most books and most eyes.
I like Bijan. I think he's obviously generational talent.
One guy that I think you mentioned that really is going on me and watching his tape, a guy that kind of reminds me a little bit. I mean, you may not agree, a little bit like Isaiah Pacheco. Stays on his feet. I know Pacheco stayed on his feet a lot. That's Kendrick Miller from TCU. You talked about him a couple weeks ago, and to me, the guy that I've just been watching over and over again, and doesn't stop running, and that's one of what you want in the NFL. They take a hit. If you get hit at the goal line, you push through to the end, the touchdown. You get hit at the where it snapped the ball from. You get 3 yards off of it. Like just that movement of the feet, I think is unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, I think you look at Kendrick Miller, you see like a big running back who's obviously able to produce, and you saw what he did at TCU. There's a reason they got to the championship game, and that's because of the offense. He made Max Duggan's
Offense a lot easier.
offense and game a lot easier when you're able to run the ball like he did. And I think Kendrick
It
Miller
opens up an entire new realm to everything. You have a good running game.
I think it's also really important to have a running back like Kendrick Miller. I said it to you when we were talking about him. I think he reminds me a lot of Raheem Mostert.
That's it.
I think he runs really well in between the tackles. I think he's big. He runs downhill and he has breakaway speed when he reaches the second level.
Completely agree.
And I think he's, like you said, he's able to finish the runs, and he's been an unbelievable offensive player for TCU. But one guy that I also have on my radar, and we're going to see all these guys because we're coming out with a list draft diamonds that we created. One guy that I've had my eye on that can go in the later rounds is Dwayne McBride out of UAB. He had over.
Yeah, I honestly heard about him. I mean, also, the thing I love quickly before we get into this, how about the entire draft in general. The thing I love most about the draft is like when you go to the colleges, like for example, you see people get drafted in D1 AA, see people get drafted in UAB, and everyone just forgets about like there's guys that don't have to be drafted from big name schools to be a sleeper in the draft, to be an impactful player, like you all in the league.
Yeah.
So let's talk about McBride a little bit.
McBride is obviously one of the best players at UAB this past year. He had 1,700 yards, 19 touchdowns, and then the year before that, he had 1,300 plus and 13 touchdowns. I mean, since he's been at UAB, he's been.
It sounds like baller status to me. I mean, 17.
I guess
that's
his
nearly
biggest-
3,000 yards.
His
and
biggest
40
downfall.
touchdowns.
His biggest downfall is he's not much of a receiving guy. but I think he's
Yeah.
gonna be one of the top running backs to come out of this class, 100%.
I mean, having the receiving option isn't awful because one, you can develop that at the NFL level for sure. If he has those hands, you can certainly develop. You can run the ball. You can easily develop a passing game, um, if you need to. But also they have this committee. If you go to a team that has the right committee, he can be the guy that runs the ball, and then when they want to bring in a passing set, they bring in the passing running back, and that's the narrative that we've seen. You see with the Chiefs how well the
Well,
team's running.
If you're
So-
looking for a good passing back in this draft, I think Jameer Gibbs is your way to go. I think he's gonna be one of the best receiving backs in the league. He went to Alabama, and we know that Alabama has some good running backs coming out of there, and big one,
They have a lot of
very
running
big one there again. Mark Ingram, why can't I think of that? Najee Harris,
There's one more.
Josh Jacobs,
Damian Harris.
Damian Harris, and a lot of good running backs
Yeah.
coming out there.
But-
Alabama.
We talk a lot about running back. And the one thing I want to bring about the draft that I think is very unique, and we've seen kind of build a narrative around the NFL recently. And that's QB on rookie deal. So I know we talk a lot about the QBs and a lot about all the aspects, but let's just break down what team we think drafts the QB and has the chance to push it to the playoffs and maybe a Super Bowl.
Are we talking first round or in general? In the top couple of games?
I mean, in general, a team that drafts a QB and
Alright.
thinks that, like, for example,
Well,
you think about Joe Burrow, you talk about
I'm talking.
Jalen Hurts and the Eagles,
Let's
stuff like
let's
that.
put it in tiers. I think CJ Stroud and Bryce Young are their own tier.
I completely agree.
I think they're tier one, and I think the teams that are going to go after those two guys are like the Panthers, obviously, the Texans,
Possibly the Raiders might doubt it.
Raiders could trade up 100%. But those, obviously, the two teams at the top are going to want those two guys because
I mean, we don't know.
those are franchise quarterbacks.
We don't know if someone falls to the Falcons, what they may do. To be honest, if they're
Right.
going to play with that falls, I mean, who
Right.
knows? If good team falls down there, or Bryce Young falls, but whatever the circumstances are, they can go ahead and take a QB.
Then you have like the tier two, in my opinion. That's like Will Levis, Anthony Richardson, and Hendon Hooker. I think all three of those guys are in tier two.
One guy you just mentioned, Aiden Hooker, I think it's very slept on a lot.
I
Right now.
I think he's my favorite quarterback in the draft.
Because,
CJ
I mean,
Stroud.
I think he slept on because he pulled his ACL.
I
He
agree.
was having, I think, and you can look stats up like my as a stat guy, but I think he was having his best year. I mean, in my eyes, he made a Mahomes kind of drive against Bama, set up a field goal to win the game. I mean, I haven't seen anyone else do that besides Mahomes. I'm not relating to Mahomes, but I'm saying he played like Mahomes in that moment when obviously he played the greatest quarterback ever.
Yeah, I don't think Mahomes is the first guy to should have compared with that team.
But I said like drive. I know we compare his stats. It says he has a similar drive to Mahomes would do. And you can't say no to that.
Hooker's an athlete, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think he's my favorite quarterback in the draft. But going back to those tier two guys, I think teams like that are trying to figure out guys like the Bucks trying to figure out Baker Mayfield got a 1 year deal.
But the thing with the Bucks, they have to trade up
Colts.
though.
The Colts.
Are they pulling a package to go up?
Titans, all these teams are going to be Jets. They don't get Rodgers. Like these are teams that are going to get those tier two guys in the middle of the pack.
I completely agree.
I think Hooker can surprise a lot of people. Go before Richardson, in my opinion. Levis, I think he goes as far as falling to the second round. So I think he's going to be someone that's interesting because I think he's going to be one of the top three behind CJ Stroud and Young. So I think
I
the
mean,
QB is definitely interesting this year.
it's just that the team that I look at that I think can be that team that gets the QB and makes a push, specifically not this year, maybe next year on that rookie deal, if they do it right and give the Panthers. I was kind of mentioning. I mean, I think.
Well, yeah, they're
I
going to
think,
Stroud.
I think the Panthers resemble a lot
I
of
think
what
you
I
can't
think
trade
the
up.
Bengals have done.
I think you can't trade up for one unless you're getting Stroud. Yeah.
Oh, I mean, it would be kind of silly if they did. I mean, I hope they get Stroud. I think Stroud will fit that mold a lot better than Young.
I think it'd be
But-
very interesting if the would they trade up? Right?
Yeah, no.
I think it's very interesting if you're the Panthers. I think it's dumb actually for the Panthers. As much as I think Anthony Richardson is a great athlete, I think he's probably the best athlete,
Well,
offensive athlete in this draft besides Bijan Robinson. If you trade up for the first overall pick before all the pro days, and you're going in there thinking that your pick's gonna be Anthony Richardson before you see his pro day and everything. I just don't think it makes sense. You had 9.
What if
They went before the pro days with the number 1 pick, knowing that it was between Bryce Young and CJ Stroud.
something
At least that's what makes sense.
something that I saw recently? I mean, Panthers have always said that they're 2 guys they like all the QBs, they're doing all the research. So what if they're on the phone with the Texans on draft day and the Texans really want Bryce Young or CJ Stroud and the Panthers are willing to go the way, but the Texans want their guy. And they make a trade down 1 pick, they get either one they want, Young or Stroud, and they pick up a 3rd round pick or a 2nd round pick this year to add to their team. Do you think that's something the Panthers or the Texans will consider doing? The Texans want to trade to 1, they want to get their guy, say their guy Stroud, and they're for the Panthers to take him. They trade down and give him a 2nd round pick this year or a 3rd round pick this year and just trade a pick that they can go out and get their Texans get their QB and the Panthers can go ahead and get whatever option they're looking at.
Well,
Either one of them.
that's the thing. I think the Texans trade to 1, like you just said, get their guy. They have a quarterback in mind. They're getting their guy or they're getting willing.
I mean,
That's what I think.
unless they're not necessarily that they're still on CJ Stroud goes, and they're not sold on Bryce Young, then I mean I think Ben Williamson would just be pairing up with the Eagle Lions with defense. That definitely makes a lot of sense for sure.
The way teams drafted, they draft the best available player on their board. So if the Texans have CJ Stroud at number 1 on their board, then Will Anderson, then Bryce Young, I wouldn't necessarily expect them, if CJ Stroud goes 1, to just draft Bryce Young just because he's the next best available quarterback. You got to draft Will Anderson. That's what I say.
Some of the thing about those two is like you look at a Texans team who when you bring in a QB, you want them to have weapons. I mean, I don't really see what tremendous
I mean,
amount of weapons on
they're
their team.
not that far off from getting a quarterback. Like they can easily trade back in, or even at 12. Like
Yeah.
you get Will Anderson at 2, and you're what at 12, and you have the 32nd pick or whatever it is.
It could be rough. Yeah, you
Package both those to go back up, even higher than 12, and go back to like 9 or 7, and get your quarterback there. Get Will Levis, get Hooker. Who knows?
Yeah,
That's
I
what I
mean,
honestly expect them to do.
I mean, that would be smart. Talking about them, but let's talk about defense. Talk about the offense and guys we like.
You know what I think the
So,
perfect scenario for the Texans would be? If Bryce Young goes 1 to the Panthers, this is my perfect scenario for the Texans, as we were talking about. Bryce Young goes 1 to the Panthers, you get 2, you get CJ Stroud. JSN falls all the way to 12, you get JSN, and then you get someone like, I don't know. Didn't really have anybody on top of my mind. I'm just thinking, I'm thinking of an edge player at the end of the draft.
you can easily trade back off with their pick.
Someone like Keon
Yeah.
Williams.
I mean, that's what I like about the draft. I mean, there's a lot of good defensive players that you can just build around. If you do go offense in the line or in the 1st round, or you did, for example, I think the Lions are in a great scenario. You need defensive players. I mean, they just traded Jeffrey Okudah.
I think that's to set up a Witherspoon and Christian Doc. Like I think it's pretty obvious.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, of course. I mean, I think they're gonna go somewhere like that with their 7th pick. I think believe they have right.
9 or no 9.
No, the Bears have 9. They have
They have 19 and something.
Yeah, they have 19, maybe top 10. If not, right outside the top, maybe 12, something like that. And 19,
6.
6, yeah. So 6 and 19, you can go out and get a quarterback, and then go out and get a D lineman. I mean, there's so many good D linemen.
All right, so let's just do what we think the top 10. Just top 10,
All right,
real quick. Panthers.
I think it's Stroud.
I think it's Stroud as well. Texans.
I like your mom. The one or if they don't have the guy, you gotta go.
I mean, if you're Chris Sims, you don't think Will Anderson is going to be one of the top 3 edge. Did you see that before?
It's just
Chris Sims had Will Anderson as
I
the
try.
5th best overall edge player.
I try not to. I try to look at that statement because
He also
to
had
me,
Kellen
it's
Mond as the 4th best
Sweet.
quarterback. But Cardinals, I think they trade this pick.
if Will Anderson is traded, they trade back for sure.
You think if the Cardinals don't get Will Anderson, they're going to trade back?
Yeah, why would they stay at 3? What they gonna do? They think Carter's gonna be the big edge they want. I mean, I can stand paying Carter, but
I think
a team I think they can trade back with is maybe the Colts. Okay, what
so who wants Bryce Young?
what does the Seahawks have?
Okay, yeah, I like that.
What does the Seahawks have? They have 4, right?
Seahawks have 20. Oh, and 5.
And 5, yeah, with 4.
Cool.
I mean, the only way to coach it up is if they think the Seahawks may trade up and get about the Bryce
What
Young.
about the Falcons? Do the Falcons trade up and get Bryce Young?
See, that's something that I'm unsure about. I'm not sure the Falcons are really. I think the Falcons will wait for their QB. They won't trade up for their QB.
I think this is what's gonna happen. You're gonna have who's the Cardinals quarterback?
Connor for Kyler Murray. I mean,
No, besides Kyler Murray. 'Cause he's out.
To be honest, I don't even know. I don't think they signed anyone.
Look
Cole
at the
McCoy.
Cardinals.
Cole McCoy.
No, I think they signed someone. I'm telling you.
Well, I know that. I know they got Cole McCoy too.
Yeah, they have Cole McCoy.
Is
All
it-
right, so they're gonna get some. They have. You can't just roll with Cole. Okay?
They're not going to get a QB. They have Kyler Murray. They have him the contract.
All right. I'm just saying, I think they will. I really do.
You think they're going to go after Bryce Young?
No, not in the draft. I'm trying to put
yeah.
together what I think what the Cardinals are gonna do right now.
I mean,
Putting a trade together in my head.
you're not getting Gino. I mean, who's the Colts have you can trade?
Okay, so say you sign someone like Matt Ryan.
Okay.
You're the Cardinals, you sign Matt Ryan to be your quarterback. You trade
Oh, but yeah, I agree. Could happen.
you trade DeAndre Hopkins, get an extra pick. You trade down to like 11 with the Titans. The Titans get 3. They pick Bryce Young. They trade their 11th pick and another pick next year,
And maybe a second pick this year.
and Sarah pick. I don't know how the
Yeah.
trade happens. It happens.
Yeah, I agree.
Titans get Bryce Young at 3. That's my prediction.
No, I like that. I think that's very reasonable between trading up.
And then who do we have at 4?
The Colts.
Colts are 4.
The Colts think good. Colts think good.
Actually, that's an interesting one. Dude, the Cardinals GM be like, hey, we just got an offer from the Titans. They're gonna hop you and get Bryce Young. Do they play that game with the Colts and be like,
And see if they want to give more picks up.
yeah,
There's something.
I think they do. I like that. I changed my answer. I think the Colts trade up to 3 and get Bryce Young.
I agree. Yeah. For me, it's a matter of fact who wants Bryce Young. So if the Colts want him, they'll make the move because they're scared of other people doing it.
But it also wouldn't be that much of a change. You wouldn't need to give that much
No.
to the Cardinals because the Cardinals just be going from 3 to 4.
I think they'll give a second round pick, maybe a third round pick, maybe 2 thirds, one this year, one next year.
So I think the Colts trade up to 3, get Bryce Young, and
Okay, I
4
respect that.
4 is going to be the Cardinals, who are going to take.
Yeah, I can see 2 great. I can see a player Tommy Wilson go there. I can see a player Jalen Carter go there. I can even see them go and play like a secondary because the secondary is horrendous. You get a secondary player. Big news.
New York Giants defensive tackle Dexter Lawrence will not be in reporting to the Giants offseason program starting on Monday due to his contract situation.
Yeah.
What did I say when you signed Daniel Jones?
Dude,
What did I say? I said that's going to
Fuck.
affect everybody else. Dexter Lawrence, that's going to affect Saquon. You're fucked. You're fucked.
Dexter
Your
Lawrence.
team is
Dexter
fucked.
Lawrence will get a contract. Saquon, I'm not sure about. Well, let's talk about the draft. I really don't want to play Giants for now. It's just been a brutal couple of days for being a Giants fan, to be honest. But let's talk about what we're
Bryce
talking
Young is going to the Colts.
Yeah.
4, I think it's Tyree Wilson. I can see
about.
that.
Yeah, I can play.
I can even
think-
see Nolan Smith going on.
Or I can even see a player like Devin Witherspoon. Their secondary even awful. He's known to be a defensive coach. Why not get a young piece on your secondary to pair with Buda Baker? You Brian Murphy's gone. You don't have a secondary piece. Go get the best cornerback in the draft.
So Witherspoon.
Witherspoon.
Okay, I like that. 5.
I think
Seahawks.
I think they Carter. I think the Seahawks love Carter this year. I think Carter is the guy.
I can see it. Pete Carroll's a guy that can get him straight. Too. Lions get whoever the
Christian
Cardinals don't. Witherspoon
Christian-
or Gonzalez.
I completely agree.
Raiders.
See, Raiders is one that kind of throws me a loop. I mean, they get Jimmy G, but is McDaniel sure the fact that Jimmy
I think
G
if the
is their guy?
Seahawks don't get Carter, that the Raiders will.
But then we're gonna go back to Seahawks at Carter. Do the Raiders go and get player like Nolan Smith, or do they go offensive line to help Jimmy G become their QB for 3 years, or
They
do
could.
they draft a QB and have him mold under Jimmy G? Like, people have been doing it. If Jimmy D sucks, he then becomes the mentor for the young QB. I mean, Richardson and Levis are still there, so
I see him going Richardson, to be honest.
I mean, it depends on what McDaniel wants to do. To be honest, I think it depends on what McDaniel wants to develop. I think they could.
I think the Falcons can go Nolan Smith,
I agree.
100%.
I love Nolan Smith. I think Nolan Smith is another guy that people don't realize is so talented.
Bears.
I think they have to go with the offensive lineman in that.
Bears Johnson.
Larry Johnson. I mean, I know Skowinski was top of the league falling now.
I think the Eagles good screen. So that's the top 10 right there. It's definitely gonna be interesting. I'm all over the place. But,
I mean, we always are. I mean,
and last thing I want to touch on before we end it, the wide receiver group is very interesting this year. There's a lot of guys that I've been seeing them floating around first, second round. JSN, I think, is a lot to go in first. But then you have guys that are floating around the end of the draft, middle of the draft, second round, like Jordan Addison, Zay Flowers, Josh Downs, Jalen Hyatt, Quentin Johnson.
I love Jalen.
I think it's very interesting how a lot of these receivers are similar. If you think about it, Jordan Addison, Zay Flowers, Josh Downs, Tank Dell,
Tank Dell's the guy that I know we both really
JSN, all these guys are like smaller guys. It's just very interesting that there's a lot more smaller guys. So you're not gonna have that big body receiver besides Quentin Johnson or Jalen Hyatt.
No, I mean, one guy, and I said it before, just fucking 3 seconds ago. I love Jalen Hyatt. I loved him when he was in college, watching him with Tennessee, with him. Okay. And one thing I would love to see is Kane Hooker and Hyatt back in the same team if possible. Hopefully get drafted in the first, second, you go out and get Hyatt. And then I think that connection just bolsters the young QBs more out so much that you see how it affects everything. So I would love to see it in my eyes.
So who's one guy? Last question. Who's one guy in the draft, 1 through 7? You're putting your life savings on being a sleeper. We're gonna come back to this next year.
I mean, 1 through 7, like
Rounds 1 through 7. People are gonna be like, "How the fuck did he get all the way there?" Or how did we not talk about him enough for the draft?
It's a good question. I mean, there's a lot of guys that I really like. So,
Can't think of him. I'll give you 2.
I mean, I'll give you one guy that I know you really like. You talked to him earlier. I did want to tape today just to prepare for the fucking podcast. That's Kendrick Miller. I mean, I know you probably say that guy. To me, he reminds me of a player that I keep bringing back like a second. Because he's a guy that will anyone is fast, gets to the tackle. I love running backs who don't go down. You take a hit and you move, you're gonna play. Teams want running backs who are hard up the middle, who can make things happen in between the tackles. And I think there's a guy that can be a player to check out. Not be starting the first 7 weeks of the season and then come in week 9 and go off of 150 and 3 touchdowns and be your star running back that you bring into the playoffs.
Yeah. I mean, I got 2 of my own real quick. Today is April 12th, 2023. It is 2 weeks before the draft. I am telling you right now, you will hear the names Marvin Mims, wide receiver out of Oklahoma.
You've been high on him.
I think he has some of the best measurables in the draft. I think he's very slept on because his stats aren't exactly going to blow you away. But I think he's going to be a very good receiver in the NFL.
Is his name Daniel Mims?
I don't know. I just know Marvin Mims. That's all I know.
Why? And Mims wasn't Mims on the Jets. You know that?
Daniel Mims.
Yeah. And his brother.
Also from Oklahoma, my second sleeper, Jalen Redmond, defensive tackle. I think he's one of the most versatile.
I like that guy too.
In the draft, I think he plays inside and outside, on the edge, run stopper, pass rush, very fast. I think he's going to be one of the best defensive linemen in the draft as well.
All right, so let's just give our take. Last thing before we end it, I'm going to end it in fucking 30 seconds.
We said this 3 times. Hurry.
I agree. Biggest team who makes the biggest impact and gets the title best draft.
I mean, I love saying my Cowboys because they always nail the draft.
I mean, you going to Cowboys?
No.
Come on, I said 30 seconds on the spot. Let's go.
Texans.
I respect that. I like that.
I think Texans middle of the draft.
So this is hard for me to say, fucking Giants fan, but I just,
Don't say the Eagles. I'll punch you in the face.
dude, I'm not. Fuck, I can deal with one anything. I'm gonna Dallas Cowboys.
Wow.
Dallas Cowboys to me always have a good fucking draft. And I hope now that me saying that fucking James did the worst fucking draft ever and they suck in the Giants take the division.
Yeah.
But with that, covered a lot. NFL draft 2 weeks away. I got sports hour.